L&D, and of course HR leaders here. We have Nico, I wish I could say it like Marius. Sapna, Krishna, and Dr. Ray. Okay, really wonderful topic about innovation of L&D, right? We know that L&D is one of the pillars of HR. So let's ask our panelists, what are the common challenges nowadays? Like, especially when the pandemic hit us, right? I'm pretty sure the challenges that we've had, like way back 2019 or early 2020, have already evolved. So, panelists, what can you share about the challenges of L&D nowadays?
Maybe the top two that I'm thinking right now in terms of the challenges from L&D perspective would be retaining people. For me, that's one of the challenges. And second one would be, I'm thinking about, because of the people are going in and out, I believe building and really maintaining the culture of the organization, that's also one of the challenges that I'm seeing, that we've been experiencing for quite a while. So for me, those are the top two.
Wow! So we started with the topic L&D and Dr. Ray just pivoted it to retention, right? And even work culture, which is some of the topics that we discussed yesterday. Thank you, Dr. Ray. Krishna?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I work in a state university, and realistically, I think one of the challenges is our heavy workload. Yeah, we are we are multifunctional beings now. We are not just focused on one single function. So it's really hard, right? We are having a hard time devoting ourselves for skills development. And even if we do, we sometimes lose focus, and there are still office concerns that we need to attend to. So I think that's it.
Thank you, Krishna. That's real talk. I think everybody can relate, right? Most of the challenge that we have in learning and development training is because people don't just, like, they ask for it. When it's there, no one signs up or attend them because they're just too busy, like doing their day-to-day work. Okay, Sapna?
Good morning, one and all present here, and thank you for having me here, and thank you, Nina. To answer your question, I believe that training and development, or learning or development, is not only a retention strategy. It's no more a retention is one of them, but having said so, that there is so much of digital transformation happening. And since yesterday I have been on and off learning about Gen Z. So if you want to train a diversified group wherein we have more of Gen Z population in the organization, it's really tough to keep them engaged in the training. So one of the challenges is those monotonous learning models which are existing in the organization. So I think that is one of the challenges, and the other is how to evaluate the effectiveness of the training. Training everybody is conducting in the organization, it has more become like a regular process. So what do we get out of those processes is a big question, because if we talk in terms of ROI, return on investment in training, so it's very difficult to gauge on that parameter. So to measure on, especially on financial aspect, because finance which drives the business, so if we look into that aspect, that also becomes a challenge. So we cannot just conduct or execute a training for the sake of conducting it. We need to evaluate its effectiveness, and moreover also need to monitor what kind of benefits it is bringing on the table. So definitely it leads to a lot of other things as well. The retentions happens, and the productivity increases, the quality of work increases. So there are multiple challenges, and it's more like as yesterday I'm going to give a lot of references from the yesterday's talk. So it was said like one size doesn't fit all. So again, training becomes a challenging for a particular organization. They cannot simply copy a ready-made training program, or cannot just take something which is happening across the globe and just execute it. So it is one of the very important and obviously a challenging issue and a process in the organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Sapna. So digital transformation, making sure that we keep different generations, right? Not just Gen Z engaged. And I also got that the effectiveness. How do we measure it, right? And I think that's the challenge that we have or we're facing as HR professionals. Like it takes time to measure the effectiveness, the ROI. How are we going to present it to our business leaders, right? Thank you, Sapna. How about you? Oh, is it working?
Hi, can I? Oh, okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole, and so I'm with Coursera, and it's great to be able to be on the panel with such amazing thought leaders. I can't emphasize all the challenges that you guys have brought up. I think completely spot on, from retention to Gen Z generational issues to really also struggling with time commitments. It's so difficult, honestly, and in such a digital environment, how do we then go and blend being time-starved and worrying about bandwidth, at the same time being told by our organizations that we need to upskill in order to do our job better. At Coursera, there was a study that we done, and we also observed that 1 in 3 individuals say they're really struggling with this. And you can imagine women especially are really struggling with this as well, because not just do you need to worry about your work commitments, there are also home commitments that you have to concern yourself over. So with that, one of the things that at Coursera that we've done a little bit different in trying to tackle these challenges is trying to allow a learner to learn in the flow of work. So for example, if you're attempting to learn how to become a software engineer, instead of saying that, hey, here's the course that you must sign up for this day, complete by the end of December, we say, hey, start whenever you want. Reset your deadlines whenever you want. Your entire progress will be monitored and captured, and we would keep sending you reminders so that you will be able to learn in the flow of work. We don't mean to be invasive, we just mean, like a really good coach, to nudge you along to make sure that you upskill and reskill at the same time. So that's something that's a bit more adaptive on our side.
Wow, Nika already gave us like the solution, one of the solutions, right? Not just the challenge. So being a good coach, right? As HR professional, not just compliance, I would say, right? And letting them drive their own learning or success. So Nika already shared with us how they do it in Coursera. So that's one of the tools, right? And we're talking about innovation in L&D. So let me bank on that. What are some of the innovations or tools that you can share with the rest, on top of course, Coursera and other known companies right now that could help us with the challenges that you just mentioned? Want to start, Krista?
Right. So I was saying earlier that heavy workload is really a problem. So I think the solution there is implementing a bite-sized learning approach. Yeah, instead of like a whole day training focusing on one single topic, we can like break that training into smaller pieces and that insert them during the work hours of the employees. And I think also the attention span of employees have decreased to 2 to 3 hours. So like that's really a challenge to keep up with these changing times. But I think with bite-sized learning, we can allow employees to gain easier access for these trainings and be efficient while working.
Bite-sized learning or training courses, like how many seconds TikToks or Reels would have, right? And those are the ones that people keep on watching and scrolling. So I think it was Coursera, was that, short videos as well?
I mean also to the point that Dr. Snapna raised earlier also about Gen Zs. Gen Zs and the generation of TikTok, right? Attention span is something that we really grapple with because we just don't have the bandwidth for something that's lengthy. For them, everything has been instant gratification. So how are they going to be sitting down telling you, I'm going to be able to go through all these 10 steps and the processes and the logic behind that? It's not something that they would accept anymore. At Coursera, we were very cognizant of that. So we came up with an item called PHRES, essentially taking the best of all our courses, tearing them down into micro confetti, and then being able to say, if you want to learn something about storytelling, here's just a 5-minute video from the best-in-class institution that you can learn from Yale, from Duke, from Illinois, to say, hey, why not learn about storytelling from these gurus? And if you're interested in the first one, click the next one, just like TikTok recommends you the next video. And after you go through a series of it, you might then be really invested to say, all right, I'll commit myself to doing this whole series. So that's something that we do on our end, but really great points about Gen Zs and about, like the bandwidth and how long an individual can commit their attention for.
Steve, Dr. Ray, wanna add?
Absolutely. I mentioned about like the retaining people, and the second one would be it's all about really building and retaining the culture of the organization. For the first one of the top reasons, or maybe one of the top 3 reasons in terms of people leaving the organizations, really they're looking for the development from the company. And one of the key things that we looked at, I know that you're all aware in terms of the customer experience journey mapping. We also did similar thing internally, so that's what we call the EX, or the employee experience of journey mapping, where we look at the different challenges or opportunities from each segment of the life cycle of the employee. And that's one of the key things that we looked at, the development of our people. And the bite-sized learning, that's also one of the key things that we implemented. That's what we call the micro-learning. We developed different types of tracks, development tracks, at the same time with certification. And we created some of those micro learning courses, and then we put that into different types of tracks in the organ. So that's one of the key things that we included as one of the solutions, not just accessible in the laptops of the desktop of the employees, but also in a mobile environment, so that they can actually take it whenever they want to take it, whenever they are free, so that even outside of work, if they really want to take it, if they really want to develop, because we want to ensure that they own their development as well. So that's one of the key things that we implemented in the organizations.
Thanks, Dr. Ray. Like, even if they're stuck in traffic, right?
That's true.
Or traveling, they just put in their headphones, AirPods or earbuds now, and then they can, learn. Wow, innovations. How about you, Satna?
Nina, I totally agree with my co-members and co-panel members. I would like to add on here is, the people who are undergoing training. I'm not talking about what is happening since yesterday or day before yesterday here. It's I appreciate that it's brilliant and everybody's so engaged. But keeping the trainees engaged has become a very severe issue. And different people, diversified verticals, domains, expertise are being put together under one umbrella for a single training. So, and also as Chris Mary has said, like there is always a work pressure. So be it academics or be it any other industry. The innovations which we can bring here is obviously a person sitting next to me. The organization is giving a lot of advancements into it by giving a blending hybrid mode of online courses, professional courses. Alright, so gamification is also one thing which we can add on to the modules and execute the training, because it's more of interactive. Like I think we did this yesterday, so it was a simple example. We keep on having a lot of engagement activities, fun activities. I mean, might not be very much related to the core training topic, but then yes, it builds in a lot of excitement or engagement, and we do look forward to what is going to come up next. So that is one thing which we need to bring in about in a training program for the trainees, so they are always excited, looking forward to what is this training about, who's going to be the trainer, and I definitely won't skip this training. So that is a wonderful scenario wherein we can have that kind of an arrangement. So, even if the trainer fails to deliver, it's the trainees who chases the trainer to answer back. So, gamification is one thing which I think most of the organizations are already doing it. So, it's not a new thing to add on. And another thing is self-paced learning. Organizations can sponsor a few self-paced training. However, most of the organizations are already having a lot of budget allocated for these kind of trainings throughout the year. They do have a training calendar in place. But having said so that we are offering employees with self-paced training gives them a chance. What Chris Berry said, like people are so stressed and loaded with work. So in their free time, or maybe when they feel convenient. If we talk about Gen Z, whenever they feel like lying on a bed and attending a training. So self-paced training is also one of the options to go ahead with some fruitful training programs. So yeah.
Thank you, Satna. So, gamification and self-paced training. I think you've mentioned a really good point there. I wanted to also tackle that because we've shared about e-learnings, right? Digital options, short courses. But how do we innovate for face-to-face trainings, workshops, such as this, right? Like Sapna mentioned, we thank you for spending your 2 days minimum, right? Some of you even, been here since Tuesday, are going to be here tomorrow. So how do we engage them, even if it's like a face-to-face training or workshop?
So maybe I could start with this question, because if anybody knows, Coursera is more a digital learning platform. We get asked this a lot, how do we integrate with face-to-face training? And many of the times, business leaders immediately tell me, Nicole, your solution's not going to be relevant here. Be honest, you would never be able to replicate the face-to-face classroom. And truthfully, we don't plan to. These words aren't my words. These words are the words from my CEO, Jeff. He actually said, we have no intention of replacing a university. We have no intention of replacing face-to-face training because we recognize the limitations that we would never be able to bridge that in-person discussion, that water cooler talk. But what we can do is definitely be able to help you digitalize it. Many a times after a face-to-face training, you walk away going, oh, I don't really remember what sort of practices we did in the room. I don't really remember what were the activities that was something that I needed to take back. All I have is this PowerPoint. I have no idea how to apply that PowerPoint back at the workplace. But imagine if we had a digital version of some of those snippets to say, remember in Power BI face-to-face, we did all these steps. Here's something that I need you to do as a homework of sort on the platform when you do it at home. You can private the materials if you like to on the Coursera platform. Alternatively, take out what we call a guided project, which is a hands-on learning of a tool that you'll be able to very systematically follow along a facilitator to tell you, here's what you click, this is what you do. Ultimately, at the end, you get all those artifacts that will be a lot more relevant when you're back at the workplace and you're able to apply that learning. So that's where we are in terms of being able to bridge the gap from a face-to-face environment to a digital one by not replacing, by really being more complementary.
Post courses or post training assessments or activities, right? I think Mary mentioned earlier that we're also going to invite you to a community. So that's also a good way to engage, right? And you will also get probably some of the snippets of these learning sessions, the most important topics or key takeaways. Anyone else from our panelists? How do we engage in face-to-face training?
Right. So now every one of us here in the room understands what a good training is. Now if I ask you yesterday, there had been a lot of talks, a lot of panel discussions. So I think you will be intelligent enough and quick enough to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. Am I correct on saying so? Raise your hands if I'm correct. You cannot be neutral on this. So I think let me repeat again. Yesterday, so many panel discussions and speakers had come, and if at all, we do an activity for rating those sessions on a scale of 1 to 10. Will you be able to do that rating? Will you be able to give that rating 1, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth? Yes, I could see a few of the hands, and I think all of us know about it. So when we conduct as an HR professional, or we are the ones who receive, we know what is a good training, what a good training is all about. But there is nothing like a good or a bad training in general. It has to be more specific with what were the objectives of the training. Are the objectives being met? Now when I talk about objectives, I need to bring in here something called as training need identification. Now if we talk about why we are all here, we are all from HR fraternity. I think all of us are going to take away one or the other thing from here, right, in bits and pieces. Now another thing is we learn here, the moment we step out, we might forget. We don't intend to forget, but we might. So are we replicating what we are learning here outside this session or outside this training or symposium or an expo? So we need a little bit of awareness and an intention from within that yes, whatever I'm learning today, I need to replicate that in work. Now when we replicate the same thing, it's more like a behavioral transformation. You know, learning something and using what you have learned while doing your work or any activity is actually the success of what you have learned. Otherwise, you learn something today, you step out and you forget, so the entire learning process is a failure. So learning process, I mean, if I just quote this definition of learning from the perspective of psychology, it's a permanent behavioral change. So training is one thing, engaging is also okay. You are engaged in the training, but are you going to utilize what you are being trained on outside the training room or not? So if it is happening, then yes, we are doing something correct, and to do that, yes, we need to work on TNIs, as I said, identify the training needs and map it what are the benefits or the returns of the training in terms of obviously the quality of work, the productivity, the behavioral changes in the organization, and how much employees wanting to come back to the training again. So there is not one fixed technology or a process which can bring in and innovate the process. There are multiple small baby steps we need to do and keep on doing. It's a continuous process. Thank you.
I think just a short rejoinder with Dr. Sapna's mentioning. I think before engaging employees, it's really important that we instill in them, we inculcate in them, why are you attending this training? So we can show them the result of the training needs analysis and like tell them that, hey, you need this. It's for you, right? It's for your personal and professional success. So in that way, we can coach them, we can mentor them, and we can motivate them to really engage yourself in the training, give your heart into it. So I think, yeah, coaching and motivating them is really a good point before sending them off in a training.
And just to add as well, there's a lot of innovations that are happening definitely in the way we do training. Say, for instance, a lot of organizations are including the QR code, the different types of gamification technologies, and even the virtual reality technologies that are already in the training environment. But then again, I'm also thinking that innovation is not just all about thinking about digital technology. Even just looking into the training process, the learning process, and looking into which specific area where we need to improve on, tweaking that specific area, I believe that's also innovation. So I believe those are the key, because at the end of the day, we go back to the basics, right? What's the reason of us doing the learning session or the training? And we go back to the whys. And then I also want to reiterate the one that was mentioned by Dr. Sapna regarding the forgetfulness. Or you go out in say for instance, the conference, and seminar, or in training, and then you forget everything. We know the concept of the learning curve, which is way fast, but we also need to be cognizant in terms of the concept of the forgetting curve, which is way faster. Like, if you don't apply the learning, like in the next 5 days, you would be forgetting 60 to 70% of the learning that you get in that specific classroom. So for me, there's a lot of things that we need to think about. Going back to the basic, how do we measure the effectiveness of the learning, and how do we tie it up to what's important to the organization? How do we follow through? I believe those are the key things that I'm looking at this point when it comes to innovating the entire training and people development.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. So what I got is even the slightest process improvement, right, in your current training programs, they're already considered as innovation. You don't have to be grandeur, like putting in like digital options, right? As long as you innovate on that matter, and then again, practice. You have to practice it. You have to apply it. It's behavioral change. And what I like about it, like what Dr. Samna said earlier, is a lot of the things that we've learned yesterday, you can also apply it here. And I think that's how learning it should be progressive and connected to each other.